My name is Greg Bogosian, and I love everything about New England. Each week, I travel the region searching for adventure. And along the way, I visit the places and the people that make New England extraordinary. This is New England like you've never seen it before. This is New England Traveler. Summer in New England is a great time to get out and explore historic places. And that's exactly what I'm doing in this episode. Today's adventure brings me to the Mount Washington Valley of New Hampshire. I'm heading to the Conway Scenic Railroad to board their historic Mountaineer for a dinner train ride to Crawford Notch. But first, I'm checking in to Attitash Mountain Village as a base camp for my trip. Paul Durfee invited me and my crew to spend a couple nights at this expansive resort. Paul, Attitash Mountain Village has obviously been here for a very long time. Tell me about the history of the resort.
Yeah, it started in 1976 as kind of a development company that turned into what is now the largest hotel condominium in the state of New Hampshire with over 400 units. You know, it was owned by a small family-run company that has the intention of kind of beautifying and developing this really special place around us.
You got a little gypsy moth on you there.
Damn it.
Tell me about the amenities that I can expect during my stay here.
Well, I think the amenities make it such a unique and expansive resort. There's so much to do here as a guest here, including being in the outdoor or indoor pool, indoor jacuzzis, barbecue locations throughout the resort, mountain bike and biking trails throughout the resort, as well as access to our beach on the Saco River.
You say you're on the Saco River. That must afford a lot of other recreational opportunities for people who kind of are more outdoorsy and want to do more outdoors things, right?
Absolutely. The Saco River on its own is one of the main attractions of the Mount Washington Valley in North Conway. And what gives it a unique access here is that you could, put your tube or your canoe out on the Saco River and find yourself in North Conway in about a half a day.
So I could actually get in a tube and float down the Saco River all the way to North Conway from here?
You could. You'd have to bring a lunch and a number of drinks to hydrate yourself. But you could certainly do it through the day.
Obviously here in the summertime, there's no skiing going on, but you are directly across the street from Attitash Ski Resort, right?
That's correct, yeah. Our entire resort is wrapped around Attitash Ski Resort. We also have a number of trailside accommodations on the other side of the route, so that you can quite literally ski in and ski out of your stay if you're a weekend visitor or a weekday visitor.
Tell me about your sister property, Eastern Slope Inn Resort.
The Eastern Slope Inn Resort is an amazing property right in North Conway Village. It's an inn that was originally built in 1926, so a good amount of years that it's gone through many different... A lot of history, ownership changes, but then updates, renovations to bring it to what is one of the premier properties of the Mount Washington Valley in North Conway now. Before we wrapped up our talk, Paul walked me down to the Saco River so I could take a look at it myself. Yeah, so Greg, the end of this trail right here is our access to the Saco, our beach. So really cool little opportunity to have while you're a guest here at the Attitash Mountain Village.
Wow, this is really beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, and as an amenity to our guests here, we have the Saco River and this beach here down what is only the 5-minute walk that we just did to get here. It's a nice quiet spot for people who want a place to relax in the water, whether that's just swimming or tubing, bringing a canoe or a kayak, all those opportunities for our guests. Now that I'm checked into Attitash Mountain Village and I have a better understanding of the area, it's time to kick this trip into high gear.
I am here at Cranmore Mountain in North Conway, New Hampshire, and I'm feeling really adventurous today. So my plan is to take the ski lift all the way to the summit of the mountain and then ride a mountain bike down the steepest Black Diamond Trail. Of course, I'm kidding. I'm feeling a little bit adventurous. So plan B, take the mountain coaster to the summit and ride that all the way down. I'm really excited to get back on these sleds again. But first, we need to head inside, grab a ticket, sign our lives away, then head on up the mountain and strap ourselves in to get on down. All right, here we go on the Cranmore Mountain Coaster. Woo! A mountain coaster or alpine coaster is a lot of fun and super easy to operate. After being pulled to the top of the mountain on a pulley system, it's lever forward to go and lever back to slow down and brake. All right, let's get some speed going. Cranmore's mountain coaster was the first of its kind in New Hampshire. This roller coaster type ride has you twisting and turning down 2,390 feet of track. You control the speed.
Take a leisurely ride down the track? Or race down the mountain at speeds up to 25 miles per hour?
Well, so far I am having a lot of fun on the Conway Scenic Railroad. I am definitely thirsty. I need some food, and I think I need a Tuckerman Brewing Company beer. What do you think?
My Mount Washington Valley adventure is off to a great start. I have a luxurious place to stay at Attitash Mountain Village Resort, and I got the blood pumping with a ride on Cranmore Mountain's coaster. Now I'm all in and all aboard for the next part of my adventure. Brian Solomon invited me to learn all about the history of this New England icon.
Brian, tell me about the history behind the Conway Scenic Railroad.
The Conway Scenic Railroad was founded in 1972 by Dwight Smith and his partners. And what it is Dwight Smith had bought our steam locomotive 7470 independent of forming the railroad. He'd seen an ad for the locomotive, and he thought it'd be really kind of cool to buy a steam locomotive. I think he spent about $6,000 for it. That would have been about 1968.
Wow.
And he was looking for a home for the engine. About the same time, he took a Mass Bay excursion up to North Conway and was sort of awed by the place. He's like, wow, this would be the perfect place for a tourist railroad. You know, 1874 station in Roundhouse. It's the kind of facility that once existed everywhere in New England, but still exists in North Conway. So that was the seed of the North Conway, and it gradually blossomed and grew into what we have today.
I have to say that I'm very impressed with the way that the Conway Scenic Railroad manages the people getting on and off the train. The fact that you can serve what the equivalent of a 5-star dinner aboard the train, cooked on board, is fascinating.
Right, and that's what I always like to point out to people, is there's only a handful of places left where we actually prepare the meals on the train. They're not cooked someplace and brought here, they're prepared on the train.
Right.
Where there's a whole kitchen staff in the dining car's kitchen that are preparing the meals, which is really a really cool part of transcontinental train travel. What we try to do with the Mountaineer is we're trying to recreate what a transcontinental train ride would have been like in the 1950s. And one of the features of that is the meal on board the train. And as we love to tell people when they're looking at what ticket to buy, because we will offer 3 classes of travel, I go, if you're going to do something, why not do it the best way possible, which is premium class and getting the proper meal. This is an awesome experience. Why not go whole hog and make it happen?
With all of the scenery passing by our windows on this beautiful New England summer day, I almost forgot that there's actually food on this train. Culinary director Jen Staines and her husband are 2 local restaurateurs who make sure that passengers are well fed.
We started just this season with the Conway Railroad. We are very excited about this new opportunity. We're enjoying it a lot. It's a lot of fun. It's very challenging, and we're enjoying it tremendously. So we serve a homemade braised short rib with a homemade porcini demi-glaze. We also offer a Statler chicken marsala with a homemade marsala sauce made right in our own kitchen. We serve a roasted crispy half duck with a homemade raspberry chambord sauce. We also offer Jen's homemade meatloaf, which is my recipe that I've made my whole life.
Well, the logistics of running a full kitchen with a crew in a static restaurant, you know, is a challenge. On a moving train, it's going to present a whole other series of problems, right?
Yes, it does. We've gotten used to it by now.
All right, well, Jen, cheers. Thank you very much for entertaining me and feeding us aboard the Conway Scenic Railroad.
And thank you for spending time with us today.
Cheers.
This train is also loaded with history. Conductor Kenzie Weimer took some time to share a story about this historic train.
This is called the Hattie Evans. She was the wife of a sectionman on here, was unfortunately killed on duty back in the early 1900s. She raised her 4 children on the track, and we saw fit to name a car after her. And in fact, if you look at that particular portrait right up there, that particular painting, that is the Mount Willard section house. That's where Hattie raised 4 children.
Right on the track.
Right on the tracks.
Wow.
The story is that when the children were toddlers, she would tie a rope around their waist and tie it to the door so they wouldn't go onto the tracks. That's why this car was named the Hattie Evans, because she's part of the legacy of this railroad. To me, this railroad is an engineering marvel.
Yes.
When you consider it was built back in the 1870s, and the tools and equipment that they had available for their use at that time, nothing like what we have today. I think this would be a very difficult and probably economically impossible railroad to build today.
Brian Solomon and his team care a great deal about their trains and work hard at preserving these historic machines.
Joe, I've always loved trains since I was a little boy. You seem to have like the job that I think every little kid dreams of having, right?
I think so. I see it at the station. I see it up here. People just love the train, and all ages. But yeah, there's a certain piece of you, I think, that grows up with you that never goes away. This has to be one of the most beautiful rides in the East Coast.
Yes.
Just now it's green, it's beautiful, but in the foliage, my goodness, it's just incredible.
Engineer Joe, locomotive engineer, thanks a lot, man.
All right,
Appreciate
thank
the
you
time.
so much.
All right.
Things fall off of walls, like often like on cue. There's some interesting things that happen here.
Oh, I believe it.
I've had an amazing time on my trip aboard the Conway Scenic Railroad. But before I left, Brian wanted to give me a tour of the station.
So Brian, tell me about this historic train station building that we're in.
Yeah, it was built in 1874. It was a one-of-a-kind station. The vision was that this would be the gateway to the White Mountains, so it was supposed to be a distinctive station. This was never an ordinary station. This was always something special. A lot of the woodwork, the windows, the way it's arranged is all original. So it gives people an opportunity to see a railroad station the way it would have been 150 years ago.
150 years.
Yeah,
right?
the better part of. Yeah.
So, makes me think, is it haunted?
Oh yeah.
What do you mean, oh yeah?
Oh yeah. If you spend any amount of time here, you'll have no doubt that it's haunted.
That was an emphatic, oh yeah, like, okay, this is definitely haunted. So give me some background.
It depends on who you talk to. The one that I've experienced is you'll be here and you'll be the only one in the building. Like you'll know you're the only one in the building because you keyed yourself in and the door's locked. And you'll hear across the attic floor. I've gone in and looked, there's nobody there.
And it isn't just ghosts that are trying to communicate with the outside world here in North Conway.
The very first phone call was attempted from this station. Alexander Graham Bell attempted to make a phone call from North Conway to Boston using the telegraph, but didn't understand details such as impedance, and they couldn't get the signal to go through. Eventually, they figured it all out. This is the guy that invented the phone system, and I'll show you there's a plaque out front that describes all that. So this is a very historic place.
Yes.
North Conway Station, first attempted long-distance phone call.
Wow.
And it failed. He wasn't charged.
New Hampshire's Mount Washington Valley offers many places to eat and a lot of choices for great craft beer. But my choice tonight is Tuckerman Brewing Company. Liz Cancellari showed me just what separates Tuckerman from the rest.
Liz, Tuckerman Brewing has been here for a long time. Tell me a little bit about the history.
So we've been here since 1998, so we're coming up on our 25th anniversary here brewing beer. So the Pale Ale is actually our flagship beer. It's the one we brewed first. It is an American-style Pale Ale.
This is the Pale Ale right here?
Yep.
So you've been brewing this for 25 years?
Yes.
Since the brewery started?
Yep.
Well, cheers. Let's try this out. Pale Ale. Well, first of all, I gotta say, I do like an American Pale Ale. It's a little bit hoppy, a little bit fruity. I love it.
It's got that mild bitterness, so it's a really good place to start when you're trying beers. And it's a really good place to start when we started brewing beers. So we pretty much nailed it.
And we started there drinking it, so we're good.
Right now it's summertime, so we have a special release Lime After Lime. It is a light lager brewed with lime.
Well, I love the name, first of all, Lime After Lime. That's really, I think, one of the coolest beer names I've heard in a long time.
So it's a lager, which makes it a very clean, crisp brew. And then we've added the lime zest and lime juices to kind of give it that really citrusy pop.
The fact that there is no lime in this beer and it really has that lime forward taste is really good. I'm taking this one home. The next beer on our flight is 50 Cent Day IPA. Where did you get the name?
So anyone who's got ties to the Mount Washington Valley is probably familiar with the weather report. And Briggs Bunker, he used to do this weather report from the summit of Mount Washington, and he'd rate the day based on a nickel to 50 cents. And 50 cent meant it was a perfect weather day. And so we decided that that's a perfect name for our New England style IPA.
Cheers. Now this is a New England style dry.
So it's got that hazy, hoppy flavor.
Yes. Yeah, that's really good. Last beer on the flight, Headwall Alts. What's that all about?
The Headwall Alt is a German-style brown. I know it's dark, but it's actually a very light flavored beer. That nice mahogany color. It pays homage to like our roots in German brewing. So we really try to brew everything the proper German way and then put our own Tuckerman twist on it.
I love that, the German brew with the Tuckerman twist. Awesome. So this is a really good experimentation place if you're new to beer, if you're not new to beer but you want to try something new. This is great.
We definitely like to keep changing stuff up too. So we keep our flagship beers steady and strong, and then we mix in a bunch of new ones. So there's always something new for anyone who's been here before to try.
Liz Cancelleri, Tuckerman Brewing, thank you very much for having me. Cheers. Cheers. Oh, yeah, there I go. That's me.
Right out in front of the Conway Scenic Railroad is the New England Ski Museum. It's where I met Jeff Like to learn about the history of skiing in New England.
Jeff, thank you very much for inviting me back to the New England Ski Museum. The last time you and I were together was many years ago at your other location over at Cranmore Mountain.
Good to have you back, Greg.
Thank you.
I mean, since then, since you saw us over at Franconia Notch State Park, we've built this building in North Conway, or this exhibit. It took us many, many years, but now we have enough to have two significant exhibits, one on the west side and this on the east side.
This place has a lot to explore. Turns out, skiing isn't always fun and games.
Well, Greg, one of the most dramatic stories we tell is about the World War II era 10th Mountain Division, U.S. Army. When World War II came along, skiers in the country realized that the Army was not prepared to fight in cold weather or in the mountains. So there was a big effort on the part of skiers and the American Alpine Club to create a specialized unit, and eventually the War Department went along with that. It was a very cohesive group, and after the war, they do things like Start Vale, Colorado. They really got Aspen going off the ground. Greg, check out this interactive exhibit we put together here. Lost ski areas, in other words, like ghost towns in Colorado. Some people are fascinated with that.
Right.
So we've got this little, what no one realized when people start thinking about this was how many ski areas have come and gone throughout New England. So we put together this little interactive thing with a time slider here. So we're going back to 1930, and you can see there really isn't much anything in the way of ski areas, and things start to pop up. And by the post-war period in the 50s, things are really starting to show up on the map, but you get into the 70s and it starts to diminish.
That's amazing to me that all these ski areas are gone. I personally love a lost history and things like that. You mentioned ghost towns out in Colorado or the West, and that's fascinating to me that all these places are just gone now.
Well, one of the things about New England, Greg, is that it's developed some Olympic skiers over the years. In fact, I think probably from every Winter Olympics from 1924 on, there's been a New Englander in there.
Really?
And we have a few objects, pieces of clothing from some of them, starting with John Carlton's Olympic sweater with the big logo on it from 1924.
That is huge.
Then a parade coat from 1932 from Bob Reed, who came out of Berlin. Right down to a jacket from Leanne Smith, who went very recently from North Conway.
Jeff, thank you very much for inviting me back to the New England Ski Museum. I can't think of a more appropriate way to end the segment than to be sitting in a chairlift.
Right, and it's not cold.
No, it's not. No snow. And the New England Ski Museum is located directly in front of the historic Conway Scenic Railroad,
where, among other things, Hannes Schneider arrived in 1939 when he came over from Europe, brought his ski instruction to America.
Yes, absolutely. I love this space. I really always enjoy talking to you, Jeff. Thank you very much.
Greg, come back again.
I will. Thanks.
North Conway is actually a very walkable town, so to wrap up my day, I walked right down the street to explore another New Hampshire gem, Zeb's General Store.
You can't think of New England without thinking of the general store. I think they started here, right? I mean, they are iconic with New England, and Zeb's General Store right here in downtown North Conway is one of the most iconic locations, I think. I'm here with Brenda Gillette. How you doing, Brenda?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Tell me about the history of Zeb's General Store in North Conway.
Zeb's opened up 30 years ago. It opened with a couple guys who thought town doesn't have a candy store. So they opened up in the front of the store, very small, and now we're a full 2-story country store, a little bit of everything.
It is 2 stories, and from the outside, it looks like a small store, and then when you get into this place, it just opens up, and it's massive.
Right.
Right?
Right.
The
Yep.
candy counter on the other side is probably every little kid's dream.
Very
Not just
much
in New
so.
England, right? Seriously.
Yeah.
The fact that you've been able to maintain this level of charm in today's world really speaks volumes about, I think, the owners and the employees and the customers that keep on coming back.
Right, right. When you walk into Zeb's, it's almost like walking into Grandma and Grandpa's.
I gotta be honest, I felt like I stepped into a time machine. I mean, walking in here, it was crazy. You know, are we gonna get a soda to cheers or what?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Cheers.
That's good.
I had an amazing time staying at Attitash Mountain Village and visiting New Hampshire's Mount Washington Valley. From the adrenaline rush of Cranmore's mountain coaster to my trip aboard the historic Conway Scenic Railroad with its awe-inspiring scenery. There is still a lot left to explore, so I invite you to start planning your own New Hampshire adventure. I'm Greg Bogosian. I'll see you next time on New England Traveler.